We all enjoy the support of a close buddy, but there are certain challenges in life for which it is not okay to bring along a friend to do some of the work. First dates, driving tests, deadly duels with your nemesis. But you try telling these video game bosses that a truly honourable boss battle is strictly 1v1 when they rock up to your climactic encounter with a partner in tow and suddenly you have to fight two of them at once. See how that goes. Somehow, I don't think they care the invite said no plus ones. Anyway, it's time to shine a light on the cheeky bosses who couldn't beat you without bringing a friend. That's how heroic and intimidating you are. Take a watch of these 7 such boss battles, but beware a handful of spoilers for the following games.
There's a tug of the wind at my hair. I find a bracing comfort in the feel and smell of the ocean. The raw stink of possibility.
That's a top way of seeing it, mate.
It's easy to forget, with all the buried treasure and parrots and saying arg, that the main job of a pirate was to attack other ships and nick all their stuff. With all those aforementioned distractions, however, it's entirely possible that you managed to avoid the Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag side missions in which you were tasked with sinking a selection of legendary ships that were all way quicker, deadlier, and more bristling with cannons than anything else you'd encounter during the game. Seriously, that thing is like 90% cannons. Where does the crew sleep? Oh, inside cannons, of course. Each of the legendary ships you come up against has their own unique strengths. The Spanish man-of-war La Dama Negra, for example, has impenetrable hull armor, meaning that you can only attack it from the rear, while the Royal Navy warship, the HMS Prince, is a haunted ghost ship wreathed in supernatural fog, which seems unfair.
Looks like a ghost ship! Aye! Risen from the dead to sink us!
For real dickery on the high seas, however, we look to the Royal Sovereign and the HMS Fearless, 2 British Navy ships that pal around on the ocean together, spoiling for a 2-on-1 scrap with any pirate daring and sexy enough to give it a go.
They're heading straight for us! We're outnumbered!
As you'd expect, this 2-on-1 boss fight is absolutely tough as nails, with the enemy ships constantly trying to funnel you into a position where you're caught between them, whereupon they will absolutely shred you with broadsides from both directions. If you're wondering where your ship is, it's somewhere in the middle of that solid wall of cannonballs. Luckily, if you manage to sink one of the attacking ships, the other will realise they're outmatched, raise a white flag of surrender, and then invite you aboard to look at their dodo specimens over a cup of tea. Just kidding, they light themselves on fire and try to ram you to death. Damn, HMS Fearless, why can't you be more like HMS Prince? Those ghosts were chill.
Hold, fiend! You'll walk not one more step toward the light of day, so long as I am here.
Theseus, no way. You two are legends. I'd be honored if we had a sporting contest here.
Iconic hero of ancient Greek mythology, Theseus was and killed many things in his lifetime. He was the legendary founder and king of Athens. He killed bandits, centaurs, and a really big pig. But the most high profile of Theseus's heroic deeds was the time he murdered the ferocious part bull, part man monster known as the Minotaur.
The Bull of Minos.
You come from the bowels of hell. This is not your place.
Yet when you meet him in the ancient Greek underworld, you find Theseus is spending his afterlife palling around with that same Minotaur, whose name we find out is Asterius, and who is surprisingly cool with fighting alongside the hero who put him there.
Oh, wow.
I warned you, short one. Now you face a foe more terrible even than I. The only other foe whom I have ever faced who bested me.
We would applaud Theseus and Asterius for forging a new and beautiful bond here in Elysium if we weren't so narked at suddenly having to fight both of them at once in a gladiatorial arena while a bunch of ghosts cheer them on as if it's all fair and good. Never mind you've hacked and slashed your way through an ancient Greek hellscape to get here. Never mind Theseus turns out to be a smug blowhard whose pecs are unacceptably even more chiseled than your own.
Together now, my friend, let's vanquish him, and may the glory of Olympus guide us.
Now you have to deal with Theseus's spear attacks at the same time as Asterius charging all about the place. So good luck, I guess. Somehow, Hades even pulls off the neat trick of making you feel a bit guilty for slaying Asterius in front of his bro, in the face of all this injustice, and despite the fact that this is exactly what Theseus did back when he was alive. The only thing that could make this matchup any less fair would be if Theseus called on the ancient Greek gods themselves to help bring him victory, which we all agree is my thing, and only my thing.
Goddess Demeter, I beg of you, assist me!
Classic Theseus.
Dark Souls may be so hard that I had to chuck out my old monitor after the words "you died" got burned into the screen, but at least it's fair. Alright, it's not fair either, but nowhere is it more unfair than in the Ornstein and Smough boss fight, in which you are forced to take on not one, but two of Dark Souls' legendarily difficult bosses at the same time. While they might look like an oversized novelty set of salt and pepper shakers, this is actually Dragon Slayer Ornstein and Executioner Smough, two savvy combatants who took one look at all the other terrifying hulking monsters you'd fought and defeated up to this point, and decided that teaming up was their best bet for survival. Clearly there wasn't time to come up with a catchy tag team name, however. The Bronze Boys? The Zap and Smash connection? It's hard, I know. Anyway, this tactic seems to be working out for them, as separately, Ornstein and Smough are pretty manageable, but together, you're constantly being blindsided by the one you're not currently looking at, and you don't have to be blindsided very often with a club the size of a telegraph pole for it to start becoming a problem. As with most boss duos, your strategy for taking down O-Town and S-Dog might be to focus on one of them to take them out of the fight and leave you with just one enemy to face in the second half, which is usually a wise move. That's because usually the boss you've left alive doesn't get all their health back and either A, grow absolutely massive, or B, gain electric powers, depending on which one you kill first. Gotta say, neither is a great option.
I'm here for my well-deserved payment.
Not as clumsy or random as a blaster, the lightsaber is an elegant weapon for a more civilized age that will absolutely wreck any fool who gets within wrecking range.
Blast them!
But the thing about fighting with a lightsaber is, ideally, you want to be the only one using a lightsaber. If you wind up fighting another person with a lightsaber, it's going to be a whole drawn-out duel thing where you have to outdo them with your swordplay, all the while wondering if their lightsaber looks cooler than yours, and you should have gotten your one in yellow after all. Worse than that, though, is when there are two other people with lightsabers. And worse than that is when they are a pair of Sith-spawn mutant best friends who go everywhere together.
Our master is on his way to the Valley of the Jedi as we speak. A fortune you will not be so lucky to experience.
In Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, you play good lightsaber haver Kyle Katarn, who is eventually confronted by bad lightsaber havers Gork and Pick. These two are known as the Brothers of the Sith, despite being neither brothers nor Sith.
They are the clashing balance of opposites, one the voice, the other the body. This combination is deadly.
In fact, Gork, the larger of the pair, is a genetically altered Gamorrean, while Pick is a genetically altered Kowakian monkey lizard, and they're both actually Dark Jedi, a distinction that will not be hugely important to you when the two of them team up to chop you to pieces. Gork might be huge, but he's also extremely strong, and he's mastered the dark side power of Force Grip, so he'll be crushing your windpipe, while his mate Pick flings himself at you like a tiny evil Yoda. Pick, by comparison, is fast and nimble, and what a treat, he also knows the art of Force Persuasion, which in this case means going invisible. You'll have to bust out your art of Force Seeing just to figure out where this little jerk is. Together Together, these two are the most aggravating pairing since paper cut and vinegar in your paper cut. And you don't even get to loot their rad orange lightsabers when you put them down. Yet more injustice.
Pick on someone your own size, Rhino.
There is no one my size, Poke.
Spider-Man on the PS4 managed to cram loads of Spidey's iconic villains into the game. So many, in fact, that some of the shifts were overbooked and several of them had to double up for boss battles. Which you'd think would be a smart move. The problem is that most Spider-Man villains seem to hate each other even more than they hate Spider-Man. This is less of a problem when you fight Vulture and Electro at the same time. They spend most of the fight talking about how great their teamwork is, despite the very obvious evidence to the contrary.
Our teamwork's beautiful, ain't it? Helping you reach those unattainable goals! Like killing Spider-Man!
And to be honest, Spider-Man spends the whole time making annoying Rocky jokes, which would keep anyone focused on trying to kill him.
No, Adrian! It's me, Spider-Man!
What are you babbling about?
Nobody ever gets my jokes.
The two-boss strategy is definitely a drawback during your fight with hulking behemoth Rhino, however, which starts out as a pretty straightforward, quick superhero versus large, charging supervillain scenario.
All of lightning beats an egg!
Before descending into all-out chaos with the arrival of Scorpion, who decides to insert his poison-shooting robot tail into the mix.
Okay, Rhino. Let's wrap this up. Never send an 8-ton infant to do a man's job.
While most of the boss teams on this list work together to try and take you down, Rhino and Scorpy spend almost as much time bickering as they do trying to kill you. And they are not worried about friendly fire, if it means there's a chance of also maybe hurting Spider-Man. A little bit.
Money. Pathetic guardian.
So while there is a slight chance that Rhino increased his chances of victory by bringing Scorpion along for the ride, the fact that they're now both trapped together in a shipping container says otherwise.
A little forced together time might help you boys learn to play nice.
Honestly, these guys never learn.
Spider-Man! I must break you.
You see? Don't encourage him, Electro.
You got it! You got my joke! I'm so happy I can almost stop fighting. Almost.
Hey, buddy! Snowflake hungry.
Living through a zombie apocalypse anywhere is a tough challenge, but nowhere is it harder than a flashy casino town. There's no one to deal blackjack anymore, no complimentary drinks, and wouldn't you know it, the performing tiger has gotten loose and it's starting to get peckish.
Look what I found you, pretty girl. Fresh meat.
That's the key concern for Ted here, Snowflake's keeper and biggest fan. So much so that his plan is to feed you, fellow survivor Chuck Green, to this magnificent Bengal tiger.
It went bad. She needs meat. Fresh meat.
We admire how responsible and caring a keeper Ted is being here, but we cannot condone what happens next, which is Ted and Snowflake's cross-species team up against you, who, we remind you, is just one guy, albeit a guy with a sick motorcycle jacket. Hey, my sick motorcycle jacket! As if a busy zombie-filled casino floor isn't distracting enough already, Ted keeps you occupied with pistol whips while the much more deadly Snowflake is everywhere you're not looking, ready to pounce from off-screen and get stuck into her appetizer of Chuckface. Ow! That's where the best, tenderest meat is! Unlike in most dual boss fights though, you don't have to beat both of them. You do have to vanquish Ted, but to be honest, he's still more concerned about his tiger friend, which is sweet, but weird.
Fresh meat. Just for you, kitty.
Once Ted has been defeated, you have a choice. Either you can fight the snarling 600-pound, heavily beclawed tiger, or serve it up a steak dinner, at which point Snowflake will become tamed, and you can take her back to your safe house, where Chuck decides it's a good idea to give a hungry tiger to his 7-year-old daughter. Well, have fun, you two. I'm off to ride a mechanical bull in a mankini. Dad of the year.
I don't think he likes
There don't seem to be many rules to the various worldwide fighting tournaments taking place in the Street Fighter series. For example, sometimes weapons are allowed. Sometimes weapons are allowed, and you can also be an escaped convict actively on the run from the law.
Crap! Get out of my face!
And there's apparently nothing in the rules stopping you from being a green beast man with electric skin who bites people in the face. Or if there is, no one wanted to tell Blanca. The one inviolable law of Street Fighter, however, is that fights have to be one-on-one. Damn it, we want this fight between a Special Forces soldier armed with knives and hand grenades and a literal schoolgirl to be fair.
Pleased to meet you.
Well, M. Bison from Street Fighter Alpha 3 didn't rise to the top of criminal organisation Shadaloo by playing by the rules, which is why, before you have to face him in the arcade version of the game, certain characters have to face off against his henchmen, the army of brainwashed, kidnapped teenage girls known as the Dolls. M. Bison is the bad guy, in case you were wondering. After a brief panic where it looks like you might have to fight all 9 of them at once, 7 of the dolls wander off to, I don't know, look for some bigger neckties or something. But that still leaves you with 2 dolls, Julie and Junie, who you have to fight simultaneously.
Nobody blink! Triumph or die!
At first, it might not seem too different to fighting a single opponent, but if one of them jumps over you and you find yourself caught in between the two, you'll begin to see why these kinds of handicap matches aren't more common in fighting games, as you get your back kicked in. Still, if setting your opponent on fire with your yoga flame breath is allowed in the rules, I guess that probably is too.
Ah, there you go, friends. Those were 7 bosses who couldn't stand to face you without bringing along a close friend for moral support and also violence. We hope you had a good time, and if you'd like to continue the good times, keep them rolling, why not watch another video a bit like this one from Outside Xbox? There are tons of them. Check out the playlist. Also, if you'd like to subscribe, if you haven't already, then why not subscribe and also hit the bell button and ask for a notification, because then you will be the first to know every time we publish a video like this one every single Thursday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Outside Xbox.